It's time to find even more hitters who could break out in 2023. First up, a high-end prospect on the Brewers who has a ton of speed and did pretty well in his major league debut last year, talking about Garrett Mitchell. He is actually currently slated to be center fielder, could hold down that job every day for the Brew Crew. Not necessarily going to hit at the top of the order. We'll see how that plays out as the season goes on. But right now, that might hurt his stolen base production a little bit. But this is a guy who acquitted himself pretty well in his first real taste of the majors last year. 61 at-bats toward the end of the season. He hit .311 and stole 8 bases. That might make you start dreaming of a 50 steal season, a guy who's going to lead the league in hitting. We can't get carried away over a small sample, but we know that the speed is definitely there, and if he can get on base at a regular clip, you know he will help you as well in runs scored. I'd love to see him hitting at the top of the order. Time will tell if that ever does happen, but at the very least, this is a guy who's a bargain right now in fantasy drafts for someone who really was one of their best prospects in the farm system coming up. It's surprised that he's been so overlooked. Even if a full-fledged breakout isn't necessarily coming, if you're looking for cheap speed at the end of your draft, this is definitely a guy to target. Now, if you're looking for power, I'm going to bring up a guy who I mentioned in my top 10 redraft prospects for 2023, and one of my favorites for fantasy. Triston Casas of the Boston Red Sox. This is a guy who has a 70 grade raw power tool. And if you're familiar with Fangraphs, they break down these prospect grades. And I love the way they phrased it on Casas' page. Casas has plus power with enough bat to ball skills to weaponize it. I mean, I could see this guy punishing the ball at a regular clip. We've seen what he can do. He mashes. But the good thing is he's not somebody who should hurt you in the batting average department. He was a very good hitter throughout the minors, and most encouraging is the fact he's not going to swing and miss a whole lot. Very low strikeout rate for such a powerful hitter, and a really good walk rate. Casas should get the chance to do this season what Bobby Dahlbeck couldn't quite do last year, and that is hold on to the first base job for the majority of the year. Why not go with another power bat? But this time, it's a guy who really wasn't thought of very highly in the scouting circles. Lars Nootbaar of the St. Louis Cardinals did flash some power last year, but if you look at his page, 35 plus future value. That means this is a guy that wasn't even really expected to be a regular major leaguer. Here's the other thing. If you look at his minor league track record, there's no reason you would have expected him to even be a power bat. Over his full combined seasons throughout the minors, we're talking 2 home runs, 7 home runs, 0, and that was 2020 because of course he didn't play, 11 in 2021, and then last year, kind of out of nowhere, between majors and AAA, 18 home runs, 14 in St. Louis. So is this a flash in the pan, or is this a guy who is a legit late bloomer? Well, if you buy into the StatCast numbers, his exit velocity on average was excellent. His barrel rate was really good. Also a guy who doesn't strike out a whole lot, despite pretty much selling out for power. Now, he isn't a guy that you should expect much in terms of batting average, but you're looking for a late round sleeper in the home run department. Nootbaar definitely should be somebody that interests you. I almost didn't want to mention him because he's kind of become a trendy sleeper among fantasy baseball analysts this offseason. There is definitely something that intrigues me there about this power that he's shown, and it's worth a shot to see if it does pan out. And now a player who's also a less heralded prospect, somebody who started the majority of last season and should hold down a job as well at one of the thinnest positions in fantasy, third base. I'm talking about Jose Miranda of the Minnesota Twins. In his first shot of the majors last year, 444 at-bats. He went for 15 home runs, 66 RBIs, 45 runs scored, and hit for 268. That's pretty serviceable as it is. Now with some experience, you could see him take another step forward. It's also worth noting that he has very good plate discipline. His 18.8% strikeout rate last year was the highest that he's ever had as a pro. In the minors, very minuscule K rates, and that's always good to see. He'll make the most out of every at-bat, won't waste plate appearances, and that should keep him in the lineup on a regular basis. I'm not going to say the Twins lineup is exactly stacked, but it should be a decent offense. He should be hitting somewhere in the middle of the order. RBI opportunities should be plentiful enough. If you're waiting at third base or you just want to slide in that corner infield with a guy who can help you across the board, Miranda is a nice pick at a much later draft slot. Then there's a player at a glamour position of shortstop that I think is being massively overlooked, kind of a dark horse candidate for me to go 2020. Vaughn Grissom of the Atlanta Braves. He's a guy who played a lot of second base last year, filling in for Ozzie Albies while he was hurt. Is Albies ready for the season? Well, I think he will be. The shoulder might still be bothering him a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Grissom looks like he might be penciled into the everyday lineup at shortstop. Dansby Swanson, of course, left for the Cubs, and so Grissom could be the guy who takes his place. In 141 at-bats last year, he hit .291 with 5 homers and 5 steals. Now, lazy math tells me over a full season of about 600 at-bats, he goes 2020 with a really good batting average. And it doesn't always work out that way, but we see that he has flashed both power and speed, and throughout the minors, he hit well over 300 on a consistent basis. His projected batting average, .274 according to ATC, I think that's underselling him a bit. This is a really sneaky late round pick, somebody who is just flying under the radar despite the fact that he's in one of the best offenses in the league, plays at a premium position, and can help you in every category. Some people think he might be better suited to be kind of a super utility player, middle infield and outfield, but look, until I see otherwise, I'm considering him an everyday player with a ton of upside. All right, am I really going to do it? Yes, I'm going team Joe Adell. Are we going to buy into the preseason hype? The fact that he's added on supposedly 18 pounds of muscle, went deep in his first game of spring training. Are we going to fall for the uber prospect hype once again? I am. Now I realize as of right now, Adell isn't necessarily going to be a starter in Los Angeles, but Taylor Ward missed a lot of time last year with an injury. Mike Trout, has been hurting over the last couple of seasons, misses time. And if Adell comes even close to scratching the surface of his massive potential, he will earn his way into the lineup. Maybe I'm just a sucker for those toolsy players. Once he starts making regular contact, we know that contact is going to be hard. And if that starts to happen, you'll be glad he's on your roster. For the rest of my hitter breakouts, check out this video right here.